My wife and I both have very different ideas of just how involved a human being should be on social media. For instance, my wife has 40 Facebook friends. I have 4,000. This talk started about a year and a half ago, lying back in bed with my wife. We both had our laptops in front of us. Both of us were on Facebook. When my wife turned to me and she said, "Ooh, Joaquin, what does this notification mean that I got?" I leaned over, looked at the screen, and I said, "That is a Facebook message request." She said, "What's that?" I said, "That's when someone who's not your friend on Facebook is asking you for permission to simply send you a message. You don't even have to open that thing. You can just hit decline on that sucker." She said, "I've never gotten one. I'm going to accept it. And I'm going to open it." And she did. And then she read the message. And then her face contorted into an expression that I've never seen in all of our years of marriage. And she turned to me and she said, "Joaquin, this message isn't for me. It's someone trying to get a hold of you. You need to read this now." She handed me her laptop, and that's when I read it. 23 words. 23 words that would change my life forever. 23 words that would inspire a book. 23 words that would give me something I've been searching for my entire life: the ability to forgive. The message read, "You don't know me, not really, and I hate to tell you like this, but my father, our father, has died. And that's how I found out that the man who left my mother and me when I was 1 year old had passed away." From a Facebook message from a stranger who shared half of my blood. At this point in my life, I was halfway through my MFA. That's a Master in Fine Arts with a concentration in poetry. I was studying at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And two of the professors I was studying under, Sherwin Bitsui and Santee Frazier, instructed us to tack our manuscript up on our office wall or bedroom wall and tack new revisions of existing poems on top of the older ones so you could see the book grow in depth and in length before your eyes. I was halfway through my book, my manuscript at this time. I walked into my office that night after reading that message because I couldn't sleep. And I looked at these 36 pages of a book, my halfway point, and I ripped them all down. And I sat at my desk and I wrote down on a piece of paper one question: "Joaquin, how did your father's absence make you feel as a young person?" I wrote down one word: degraded. And then I opened my laptop again and I typed into the search engine the word degradation. And it sent me to a scientific article on the top 10 causes of degradation for topsoil or earth or landmass. And I looked at these 10 bold words, these large, destructive words. And I asked myself, could I write a poem using these 10 words to my father? And that night, I wrote this. This is called Causes of Degradation. Air pollution. She left the photos up for a while. You hung over us like sulfur dioxide, visible and invisible. My smile on your face in the Polaroids. I took them down one night as she slept, hid them from her in a boy's desperate attempt to clear the air. A son will do anything to help his mother breathe easier. Fires. So many nights she pulled the lit, unfiltered Camel from between your lips. She told me more than once, you almost burned us to the ground as we slept. When you leave something unattended, negligently discard cigarettes, suns, and all such small things, you turn flesh into debris. The ultimate goal of the arsonist is to destroy wholly or in part. Overexploitation. You tried so hard to ruin us with your carelessness, hands covered in paint, above a once blank canvas, an over-abstraction, just a fancy word for prolonged periods of drought. Logging. You uprooted sapling, piñón, nogalito, chisos, stripped it and left it bare. There was no way to hold the soil in place. Insects. Surely you must know encroachment of any kind can contribute to the loss of something small and rare. Pest and vegetation diseases. Eventually, I poured gasoline on the photos, set them ablaze, cleansing by fire. I watched our faces blacken in the flame. Any poison meant to kill the predator will eventually destroy the prey. Firewood scavenging. In the darkest part of the forest, moss grows so deep that walking makes no sound. This is how you slipped away into the ink, shoes in one hand, flint in the other, silently searching for cattails, fungus, compressed flower tops to catch the spark. When you apply heat but starve it of breath, the ember becomes highly combustible. Animal foraging. If given the choice, we would rather freeze than starve. Even in winter, we would seek farther, forage longer than our fathers. We came to know intense shivering and slurred speech in an intimate way. Pasturing and overgrazing. It is uncertain how long the recovery period will last. We should have known something wild and non-native would refuse to take root in such an arid place. Industrialization. There was nothing natural about the rhythm we created. There was never a homeland to be lost. Urbanization. Fatherless boys find each other, become brothers, bound to one another by the want of blood. Though shifting variables make predictions about future growth next to impossible, some things were certain. Natural causes included earthquakes, storms, and wild boys setting photos on fire. Economic impact was a child support check that bounced. Overpopulation was 3 brothers sleeping on a fold-out couch in the living room. Extinction was a cop car parked near the corner of Bonita Boulevard and Mañana Avenue. It was all so close, so far away. I can remember as a young person feeling degraded by my father's absence. But writing these poems got me thinking a lot about my father. And yes, my father did make a choice to leave me, but writing these poems made me realize that he made that choice when he was a very young man. And as you all know, young men will sometimes do stupid, selfish things, and that does not make him a bad man. That makes him a man who did a bad thing, and there is a difference. As I was writing these poems early in the process, they were about pain, but that quickly transmuted into forgiveness. It wasn't long into the process of writing these poems that I wrote this next one. It's called Archetypes. 3. I will tell you 3 things about my father, and one will be a lie. My father left the year I was born. My father's heart, like mine and yours, is made up of 4 chambers, but only 3 work well. My father's left atrium broke the day he walked away from me. There were 3 of us. We all came from different fathers, but the same mother. We all have different colored eyes, but the same smile. We're all different, but the same. We're all different, but the same. We're all different, but the same. 4. I think I've only loved 4 women in my life well. At some point, you should take all the money in your wallet and spend it on the women in your life you have loved well. At this exact moment, counting the change in my pocket, I currently have just under $7 on me. I would buy the first woman a white peach because she once moaned after biting into one. I would buy the second woman a pack of sugar-free gum because she is diabetic. I would buy the third woman a disposable camera, which seems insignificant, but oh, can you imagine the possibilities in those 24 exposures? The fourth woman, I would give this poem, as I would likely be out of money at this point. Now, this part of the poem says as much about the fourth woman's love of poetry, as it does about my ability to budget money well. I'm writing this poem in an airport. My flight lands at 4 p.m., and there's a very good chance my phone will be dead by then. When I land, I don't want to call the 4 women I've loved well. I want to call all the women I did not love well and tell them just how sorry I am I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 7. My favorite movie growing up as a kid was The Magnificent Seven, a remake of a classic Japanese film, The Seven Samurai. In terms of film, my favorite childhood movie is An American Bastard. But it's a good one. So am I. So are my brothers. You could teach a class on archetypal symbolism from just that film alone. The star of that film, Yul Brynner, died of lung cancer. Just before he died, he shot one of the most powerful and poignant public service announcements. That PSA ends with Yul Brynner staring into your soul from inside the black and white television, repeating 3 words, just don't smoke. I swear it must have run 7 times a night during the prime time of my youth. And though I can't be certain of it, I think those may have been Yul Brynner's last words. When I was 7, I learned that my father smoked unfiltered Camels. So did Yul Brynner. And though I can't be certain of it, I think in the end it will not be my father's actual broken heart, nor will it be his metaphorical broken heart that gets the best of him. In the end, it will be his lungs. And I, his firstborn son, will not get to be there to hold his hand when he dies. I will not get to hear his last words. I will not get to ask for or accept forgiveness. In the end, there will be only silence. I forgive you. 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 I just found out my flight is delayed. It will not land until 7 p.m. Will the women I did not love well forgive me for my silence, or those times I should have been silent but was not? Will they forgive me for my carelessness with money, or my carelessness with all 4 chambers of the human heart? Will they forgive me for loving words more than I love them? Will they forgive me for all the poems I've written about them, or all the poems I haven't written about them? I want to write a collection of 28 poems, 7 poems for each of the 4 women that I have loved well, and though I love them all, I will reserve the use of closed form for only one of them. I will write her 7 Shakespearean sonnets. No. I will write her 7 villanelles. No. I will write her 7 epic poems written in rhyming couplets. No. I will write her 7 powerful and poignant PSAs that will all end the same, with 3 words repeating, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. After I wrote that poem, an overwhelming sense of calmness fell upon me. And I found myself able to forgive with greater ease after writing that poem. So much so that when I received a follow-up message from my half-sister containing my father's obituary, and I discovered that I was not in it, that I had been written out of my father's life even in death, I was not bitter, and I was not angry. Yes, I was hurt, but I took a breath. And in that breath, I came to the realization that my father did not write his obituary. Someone else did, and it was their omission, not his. So, I wrote a poem, righting their wrongs. This is called The Breath of Our Disconnection, or On Finding Out That I Was Left Out of My Father's Obituary. He is survived by sheets soiled crimson, crumpled cold on hospital floor, survived by blood in lungs, throat, and mouth, hair in sink, by chemotherapy, by diagnosis, survived by pain inside and shortness of breath, by calloused hands, farm jack, come along, whirly-jig. He is survived by new family and new priorities, by community college art classes, by beautiful brown woman, by not so brown boy. He is survived by pills of different colors and sizes, by PTSD, by Agent Orange. He is survived by severed limbs and wails of soldiers too young for death, by Ho Chi Minh City, Unit, Core, God, and Country, Act 1 of Hamlet, by paint by numbers, survived by amniotic fluid in lungs, throat, and mouth, by unbuckled belt and floral print dress on floorboard of a Chevy, by young man and younger woman swaying in time in small town Texas dance hall. He has survived by I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, playing on the jukebox. If these poems taught me anything, they taught me that yes, my father did leave me all those years ago, but I don't think he meant to, and that's enough. That's enough to forgive him. I struggled a great deal with the title of my new book. I originally was going to call it Causes of Degradation after that first poem that I wrote that night after receiving the message. But there's a lot of fire imagery in the book, so I was starting to be drawn to the word arsonist. I had a conversation with another one of my professors, James Alunyora Stevens, who's just as gentle and lovely as he is brilliant. And he said to me, it has to be arsonist. It has the word son in it. And he said it also contains the phrase, our son is, inside the word. And then I knew that it had to be that. I want to close with a poem that's very near the end of the book, and I think it sums up this TED Talk perfectly and sums up the book that I've written. It's called Arsonist and sums up maybe my entire life. It's called For Better or Worse. Almost a year now. What I've learned is this. My dead father is not in the dirt, nor is he in the poems. He is in me. My name is Joaquin Zihuatenejo. I'm a poet and a teacher, and I am my father's son. And I have an idea worth spreading, and that idea is the not-so-simple act of forgiveness. Thank you so very much.